I get here? Huh?
Hello, guys. Welcome back to How Did I Get Here? HDIGH. It is me, Alexa, and we are here with a very, very, very special guest, which is Sam Hammington.
Yes.
Woo!
That is the $1 million question. How did I get here?
Indeed. Are you familiar with our podcast, sir?
I'd be lying if I said no.
All right, fair enough.
I am. I'd be lying if I said otherwise.
As obliged.
Dive Studios. I've been in here before many a time. I've never sat at this table in this vicinity before.
Oh.
It's usually about, I'd say, 57.5 centimeters that direction with a few more chairs around it and a lot more people sitting around it watching YouTube videos and not doing much of anything.
Well.
Diane, eating tacos and burritos and watching, the news and listening to music on YouTube generally. Yeah. It's usually kind of like the meeting table before we do our podcast. And our podcast is all the way over that side of the studio.
The other side of the studio.
We get the Dive Studio sign behind us.
We get blue velvet curtain.
Ooh, big. Because whenever I watch the podcast, I never kind of worked out where you guys were when you filmed it.
Okay.
And now it's really intimidating because you have like cameras in front of you and we kind of sit opposite each other and just kind of talk.
Right.
Now it feels like I'm talking to, I don't know who.
That's okay.
Awkward.
That just leads to the question, how did I get here?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a vicious cycle. How did I get here? It's a never-ending question.
But for those of you who are not familiar with our podcast, welcome to How Did I Get Here, where we live our best lives on the internet and come out on the other side knowing more but not feeling that much smarter. My good sir, do you have any clue as to what that means?
It's like the story of our lives, isn't it? We never actually come out any smarter than what we think we did, and we tell ourselves, I know everything now, and then you actually sit down and you're like, I just spent the last 2 hours reading up about something and I still don't know what I read about.
There you go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
There was no conclusion to any of that. I just read and I tell myself, now I know everything, and someone's like, explain it to me, and you're like, no, go and read on Wikipedia.
There you go. At the end of the day, if you don't know, Wikipedia is there for you. Not sponsored. Thank you. All right. Yes. So those of you who may or may not be familiar with our podcast or Dive Studios in general, Sam here also has a pretty bomb podcast called Nonsensible. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Okay. When this goes to air, I'm going to say we're almost at our, we're probably at about almost our year anniversary.
Oh.
We're getting towards episode 52.
Oh, dang.
We're almost there. So Nonsensible, it's myself and Dave, and Saul actually joined us as a regular on the podcast recently. So it's the three of us, and we sit down and have a guest join us every week. And the title sort of sums it up much like this: Nonsensible. It's just nonsense. Nothing makes any sense. And you walk away from the end of the podcast and you're like, there's no summary, there's no conclusion. It's just random musings between four people, and we go backwards and forwards. And sometimes it's stories of growing up in different parts of the world. Sometimes it's commentaries on life. It could go in any direction depending on who the guest is in the studio. For example, it could be how delicious cinnamon rolls are with ketchup.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. Hard to believe. And I still don't believe it. But, when a guest comes on and tells you that, you kind of have to agree with them somewhat and disagree with them at the same time.
Yeah.
And when they leave the studio, you can just say that's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
There we go.
Because they're not going to come back and argue with you after that.
They're never going to know.
Yeah. Unless they watch this podcast.
True. In which case, now you know, but...
Hi, Chubby. Yeah.
Ooh.
It was great having you on the show. She's adorable. She's adorable. She was a lot of fun.
She looks so cute. I watched the episode. I really didn't know who she was until I saw the episode, but she's so adorable.
She was so much fun. I still don't agree with her taste in food, but she was so much fun.
That is a wee bit questionable, but I'm just going to hop off of the cinnamon rolls with ketchup train and hop into the meat of today. So.
Segue.
Ooh, segue.
I like it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So you, my good sir, are indeed a parent. So today's topic is, should parents trust their kids?
Oh, you're just throwing the question straight at me.
I am. Straight as an arrow. Doom.
No. Show's over. Let's go home.
Thank you, bye.
Done. Yeah. Well, that was, how did I get here? See you next week, guys. Well, yeah, this is it's such a, it's a question on so many different levels because it really comes down to trust. What is trust? You have to give trust to be able to gain trust.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to be able to trust my children, they need to be able to trust me.
Mm-hmm.
And if my children can't trust me, I don't think it's fair for me to expect them to reciprocate that trust. You know, trust is something that I think it is really important in any kind of relationship, but more so with parents and children. For me, my children are particularly young, so I think trust is something that we're still working on. And, you know, they kind of tell me white lies and little fibs.
Of course.
Completely acceptable. And I think white lies is something that I still tell them. Like I go through the motions of, you know, if you don't behave, we may end up putting you on top of the mountain and you may have to live with the wolves.
There you go.
Yeah. And that works because it pulls them into line. But it is about, you know, you need to be able to trust your parents. And it's, you remember the trust game where it's, I don't know if you've ever played it and you kind of stand on a table and you have 6 friends.
And you fall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's about grabbing them as they fall.
Right.
I think as a parent, that's what you need to instill in your children. Like you need to be able to fall backwards and know that I'm going to be there to grab you.
Right.
So for me, that's, I need to be able to trust my children. They need to be able to trust me. And if that doesn't exist, I think the relationship is just, it's non-existent.
That's a fantastic way to put it, though.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic way to put it.
I mean, is that the episode over?
There's a lot we got to delve into, my good sir.
It's one of those, it's one of those black holes. I mean, you know, there's so many different directions you could take this.
I mean, you said your kids are quite young. How young are they, if you don't mind?
So, William right now, so he turns 5 Western age in July.
Ooh.
So Bentley turns 4 Western age in November. Okay. Yeah, 3 and 4 at the moment.
Okay.
I get confused because we have Korean age and Western age, and it just, it's really confusing. And then people talk about, you know, they tell you the age in months.
Right.
And like I see all these memes on the internet and they're like, yeah, my child is 245 months. And it's like, okay, that's really funny. But from a parent's standpoint, I kind of understand it because like at an early age, 3 months difference, there's such a big difference in their development. And that's what parents are trying to allow you to understand. Like my child is 5 months more advanced than your child. So that's why their speech development, or they may be walking at such a different, or they're running, or they're doing these different things. It's kind of, it's allowing them to understand that, okay, there's that developmental stage that they're more advanced than my child. It's not trying to make it more complicated for the processing.
Right.
But you also we have a Western age and a Korean age. So if you're like, oh, they're 5, and you're like, okay, is that Western age or Korean age? And you're like, let me think. And then you've got to process again. It's just like months. Once you get to a certain age, you tend to just say years anyway. But yeah, when they're young and like 2 months, 3 months, that developmental stage is huge. The difference is immense.
Well, dang.
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way because I've also seen the memes that are like, my kid is 482 months old. But it's like, but I never thought about like the developmental stages in that sense.
I saw someone I know did that the other day, and and I'm like, I'm like, that's really funny. And then I'm like, you don't have children, so you don't really understand. You don't grasp the concept of that, why people say that.
Right.
So once you have children, you're going to sit back and you're going to think, oh, my God, now I get it. That was actually kind of it's the whole, like at the moment we have an issue here in Korea with people living in apartments, and there's the whole, the noise that children are making in the upper levels.
Yep.
And it's interesting because a lot of the people that are complaining in the lower levels are generally people that don't have children. I recently moved from an apartment into a house because, we didn't want to keep telling our kids, stop running, because the stress you're giving to the kids, it's unfair. They don't know any better. They're growing up and they're two young boys. It's like, I got to run. Let me go wild. And you're like, don't run all day. They don't know any better. But you don't want to stress out the neighbors downstairs.
Right.
But the apartment we were living in, the upstairs neighbors, their kids were running until like 11 o'clock at night. But being that we've got kids of our own, it was just like, whatever. It wasn't something we were going to lose sleep over until you've experienced it.
Right.
Until you've walked a mile in someone else's shoes, you don't understand.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess as a society, I think right now with COVID and everything, people are a little on edge and a little tense. Maybe we just need to be a little bit more understanding of people's circumstances.
Okay, I could see that. Hi guys, it's Alexa here with How Did I Get Here, and I'm here just with a little message to tell you guys about today's sponsor, which is BetterHelp.com. In the current times we're in, I know things can be difficult, and I don't know if anybody else has ever done this, but have you ever just kind of sat and thought about what's interfering with your personal happiness? What is preventing you from becoming the person you want to be, or preventing you from the goals that you want to achieve? Well, thanks to BetterHelp, you can connect in a safe and private online environment, and it's super convenient. You can actually start communicating in under 48 hours. They have many licensed professional counselors on standby that are specialized in fields from anywhere from depression, anxiety, relationships, grief, self-esteem, anger, anything you might possibly need. There's always going to be someone at BetterHelp that's ready to help you. Just so you know, though, it is not a crisis line at all, but you can always check out the testimonials posted daily on their site, which I highly recommend doing. Like many of you, I also have hard times as well. Sometimes, just life hits you and sometimes you aren't ready for it. But whether it's talking to either a close friend, a family member, or even one of my close staff members, I feel like talking about what you're facing is just one of the first steps to healing and getting better and solving the problem at hand. So I would definitely recommend BetterHelp. Definitely recommend to help you today. There's no shame in reaching out. People are always there to help you. Don't be afraid of that. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/how. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/how. Let's get back to the episode. All right, well, seeing as your kids are still quite young and not yet teenagers, have you noticed any behavioral patterns, expressions or tones and voices whenever they lie to you blatantly? How can you tell if your kids are lying?
Oh, that's a good one. I haven't really picked up on that yet.
Oh.
Part of it is, though, my mum always said, she's like, I've done everything you did growing up. And I'm like, sure, you didn't do half the things I've done growing up, Mum. I'm like, you're so full of it. You haven't, I'm like, no, you didn't do half the things I did. And lo and behold, she knew exactly what I was trying to get away with.
Yep.
And I'm going through that now with my children.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, I know exactly what you're trying to pull the wool over my eyes. You're not getting away with it. They don't have the tells yet, but I'm starting to get ready for it. You kind of get the eyeballs going. I think it's
right.
They go up to the right. They start kind of, that's one of the things.
Okay.
William kind of, he starts kind of looking around and he can't look you in the eye. Yeah, there's small tells.
Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting there. Because this study from Psychology Today says most kids lie to their parents sometimes. That's an understatement. I feel like it's more than sometimes. For example, in a study involving 121 high school students, 120 of them, so only -1, listed as at least one area they tried to lie to their parents about. In general, and not surprisingly, the more kids lie, the more trouble they get into. The worse they get along with their parents, and the less they feel trusted. I feel like that's a given, though.
Yeah, that's just common sense, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. But then again, you got to take into factor the whole the compulsive lying thing, but I'm not sure how that's developed or anything, but...
I think, like, the other thing is it's also how the parents kind of... don't lie to me, don't lie to me. If you kind of keep enforcing it, it kind of snowballs.
Exactly.
So they're like, oh, I don't want to, mum and dad said don't lie, but if I say this and like, you kind of get caught in that trap. So then you're like, I know I shouldn't be lying, but if I say this, if I tell them the truth, they're going to get angry. So you start lying so that they don't get angry, but they're going to get angry if they find out that you're lying. Either way, you're going to get angry. It's like, how do I avoid them getting angry? It's like, oh my God, it doesn't matter what I do, they're going to get angry at me.
You just keep digging your grave deeper and deeper and deeper until you're like at the core of the earth and you're like, well, what do I do now? I'm screwed.
Yeah.
So
it's like, how deep do I go?
I don't know. I mean, again, when it comes to lies, like white lies, I feel like those are okay growing up. And I mean, like you said, you as a parent and me still as an adult, I tell white lies every now and then. As long as nobody gets hurt, but I mean.
Yeah, you tell yourself white lies are okay, but you start with one white lie and then it turns into 2 and 3 and 4.
Oh, you're right.
If it kind of develops it turns into a monster, then it becomes problematic.
True.
I don't know what to say.
It's a complicated topic to tackle.
It feels like my whole life is a lie right now.
Yeah. But why is that? Why is that, my good sir?
That's such a difficult question to answer. Yeah, because then I'd be unraveling too many truths.
Well, it's okay. This isn't Get Real, so no worries. You don't have to get too real here. So this is how did I get here, meaning you can just question everything and be like, yep.
I like that.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's see. Just for some quick statistics hopping in. Apparently for 38% of the issues that kids lie to their parents about, both mothers and teens agreed that they disagreed on said topic. Following 22.8% of the cases, both mothers and adolescents agreed that they agreed on a certain topic. Whereas almost 40% of the cases, the mothers and adolescents disagreed about their agreement. Okay, but what about the fathers? We have a father here.
Yeah.
What about the fathers?
Here's where it gets tricky. I raising children, I tend to go by the good cop, bad cop rule of thumb.
Okay.
I try to tell my wife we need to try and be on the same train of thought with everything. Like if, for example, I say to William, okay, that's enough iPad for today. And my wife needs to be on the same enough iPad. But if she turns around and says, okay, 30 minutes more, I'm like, hang on, you've just destroyed my whole theory here. It's kind of like we're not on the same plane here.
Right.
Good cop, bad cop. I'll be the enforcer, and then mum comes in and kind of like, you got to listen to your dad and kind of, kind of bring him up.
Right.
With that, it kind of, you can have the disagreements and someone, they can disagree, but then you can have the other person on the other side who agrees with you. So it's kind of the backwards and forwards, which means that you never feel like you're being ganged up against with your parents, which it should never be that.
Exactly.
Because it's not a battle of the wits. It's not a war. It's a relationship. It's a family, and you're raising children. It shouldn't be parents against kids. It's none of that. It's about making an environment where everyone's comfortable. But as a parent, you're older, you've got more life experience. You're just trying to put them on a path that's going to be easier for them.
Right.
And you want them to go in the right direction in life without having too many difficulties and too many struggles.
Right.
And yeah, so it's like a battle of the wits. It's almost like a game show. It's like Jeopardy.
Yeah.
It's like Jeopardy but it's like for millions of dollars.
Oh gosh.
It's
Let's see. Have you ever experienced your parents having a hard time trusting you? If we flip back to our childhoods, was there ever a moment when like your mom or dad was like, I can't trust you about this?
Many a time.
Yeah.
The things my mother caught me doing.
Oh no.
My mother, she caught me sneaking into her purse.
Oh.
I used to have after school, I'd go to the video arcade.
Oh.
And I mean, it was just, the small, $1, $2.
$20.
I wish. I think I would have got caught too many a times if it was that much money. Things like that. It was interesting though. I think she generally trusted me because a lot of the things she'd say to me, she's like, if you ever have a girlfriend, bring her over and she can sleep the night. Sleep the night stay the night at home, which for me was always like, that's kind of like one of the biggest signs of trust. Have your girlfriend stay over at your house under the same roof. And one of her thoughts behind that is she's like, I don't want you going out. I don't know where you're going and spending the night, and I don't want you getting in trouble in a strange environment. She's like, I'd rather you being in your home environment. If you're going to get up to any kind of hanky-panky, she's like, do it under my roof, and at least I know you're safe under my roof. Right. She's like, I won't be by the door with a cup and, up to the door listening. She's like, don't worry about that. And even growing up, like in Australia, when you turn 18, you can drink legally.
Oh, 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
But prior to that, you have parties and there's generally alcohol there. And I'd say to Mum, I'm having a party at a friend's house. And I remember my mother actually buying me alcohol. And her philosophy being that I'd rather know how much you were going to drink as opposed to you going out and getting a ridiculous amount of alcohol and doing something stupid. Right. Okay. Which actually, now that I think about it, maybe she didn't trust me. I don't know if that is a trust issue or not. Yeah.
I mean, that particularly is interesting because in America, depending on the state, technically when you're 18, you can drink within your own house. But then when you're 21, that's when you can go outside your house and drink and everything. But there's always those memes floating around the internet of kids talking to their parents, but whatever it is, the parent is always like, well, I'd rather you be here so I know what you're doing and I can control the situation, which, it's a good thing, but it's also like, is that because you trust or you don't trust?
Yeah.
Which is it?
I had this growing up. My mum was always like, her bedroom was right by the front door of the house. And she's like, go out. I don't care what you do. She's go out and do whatever you're going to do. Have fun. And she's like, make sure you come home every night. She's like, if you don't come home, you got to call me. And it was kind of like I'd get home at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'd be opening the door as quietly as possible.
Yep.
Slight squeak. Yep. And you're like, oh, don't squeak. Right. You'd close it and you'd lock it. Is that you, Sam? Oh. You're like, what the? Are you awake? She's like, I knew you didn't, I knew you weren't home yet. No, I couldn't get to sleep.
Moms do that.
I'm like, you what? It's 5 o'clock in the morning. You haven't been asleep. She's like, well, I was worried because you hadn't come home. And oh my goodness. Yeah. So I, it's not trusting, but it's kind of like the whole worry factor.
Right.
When and that wasn't even that I was young, like even in my 20s.
Right.
And even after I'd left the house and maybe I was back in Australia for a holiday and I was out with friends, it was the same thing. just I guess once you have children, it's kind of the whole different story.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about my children going out and getting home at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, no.
I guess they're still young, so
That's
I
many
don't have
years
to worry
ahead.
about that.
Oh, gosh. That just raises the question, but what about and when parents lie to their kids and that kind of trust is like in there, like, oof.
Oh, see, that's really worrying. If I start lying to my children, you go down that rabbit hole that you're not coming back from.
Hey guys, it's Alexa, and y'all know we can't finish the episode without shouting out our good sponsor at Grammarly either. As a K-pop idol, I especially have to be very, very, very careful with what I say, whether it's on live streams or on my social media posts. It's really easy to be misunderstood, and I would never want my words, even unintentionally, to cause any kind of uproar or hurt anybody who could possibly read them or hear them. Making better connections means it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it. Write clearly and confidently by getting real-time feedback and guidance on tone, word choice, clarity, and even more with Grammarly Premium. With the paid version of Grammarly, which is Grammarly Premium, I'm able to essentially upgrade the quality of my writing. I feel so often that I'm just kind of rambling when I try to make a point. You might disagree, but I feel it. And so with this service, they have clarity suggestions. And basically, that helps me make a more clear, concise sentence and kind of takes out all of those redundant blunders that I can sometimes make. I didn't think Grammarly would be something I would apply in my work or lifestyle, but honestly, it never hurts to run through a serious message or a more businessy exchange through the program to make sure I'm being heard the way I want to be heard. Their service can also give advanced real-time feedback that not only corrects mistakes, but gives useful suggestions that can make you a better writer. Catch me being a sort of Stephen King in my journal, kind of spooky but well-written, you know what I'm saying? Grammarly is also very in-turners with Deck, as they're available as a desktop editor, browser plugin, and mobile apps. This connects directly with all those popular platforms such as Gmail, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Basically the places where you want to be sure 100% of what you're saying. Do more than just spell check. Say what you really mean with Grammarly Premium. Get 20% off Grammarly Premium by signing up at Grammarly.com/how. That's 20% off at GRAMMARLY.com/how. Now let's get back to the episode. So this specific topic was covered in the Washington Post. They spoke with Vicky Hoffel. Yes, an author and a parent educator about the different types of lies parents may tell as they raise their kids and how to best navigate honesty in order to build open communication. Apparently, between ages of 5 and 7, children will generally start asking whether Santa or other kind of figures like that are real. When they ask, they are often ready to know the truth, Vicky had said. Parents can share how much fun it was to believe in such things when they were kids or talk about the history of the folklore. Have you had these discussions yet with William yet, or is he still pretty childlike?
This is a discussion I've had with plenty of friends because actually a good friend of mine, she had a daughter at one of the schools here, one of the international schools, in fact, and some of the international schools here are quite religious,
right?
And her daughter was kind of at a bit of an older age. I want to say she was about 11, 12 at the time. So generally a lot of the other, her friends at that age had obviously already realized that Santa was non-existent. But, one of the teachers had come out and said, it's the day Jesus was born and, Santa Claus is non-existent and whatnot. And it kind of broke this child's heart because she still believed in Father Christmas. And there was a big issue at the school saying, you can't do this to children.
Right.
My thing is, I think at a young age, children have this wild imagination. It's so wild. And here in Korea particularly, we tend to educate our children at a faster rate than a lot of other countries. We tend to get them to read a lot earlier.
Right.
Which I believe personally tends to stifle their imagination a bit. because when they're looking at picture books, instead of actually looking at the pictures and kind of letting their imaginations run a little bit wild and take them in a different direction, they're reading the words. So even as adults, a lot of my friends, you'd go and watch a Marvel film and they're like, he flies? That's ridiculous. But when I grew up, like Superman was like, just the concept of someone flying through the air was like, oh my God, I wish I could fly. So to be able to let children have that imagination, run wild with it from a young age, like it's like if children say, is Santa Claus real? It's tough if they come out and ask you directly because children are kind of like, they get children are suspicious by nature.
They are.
Very suspicious. Very suspicious. And I'm not going to say, no, he's not real. I'm going to try and, cover my tracks a little bit better.
Right.
But if they're kind of, if maybe they've got some photographic evidence of me doing something to pretend that I'm Santa Claus, I think it's something you maybe sit down and kind of have a talk them through it. It's not worth living a lie and because children are going to they're going to start talking about it and say, they kind of get in that position where they can get quite pig-headed. They can get quite stubborn. They're like, oh, Dad, why don't you just tell me the truth? Stop lying. Why are you acting like that? And if it's getting them upset or they're getting antsy or there's angst that comes with it, there's no point putting them in that position and straight.
Right.
If there's any stress involved, it's like, okay, let's just talk it through and put the cards on the table.
That's the thing. I don't remember at this point if my parents told me or if I found out through, a movie or through friends or from peers around me or anything. I don't remember. I don't think I ever asked my folks, hey, is Santa real? But
generally, I don't think it's through parents that you find. I think
probably not.
It's generally through peers, usually through older peers.
Right.
Or it's through mass media.
Exactly.
It's parents. This is something that, as a parent myself, you don't want to destroy this magic because you wake up on Christmas morning and you see the look in their face, and even on Christmas Eve, and they're like, Father Christmas is coming tomorrow. It's like, what? And they wake up and their faces just light up and you're like, I wait 364 days a year for this. I don't want anyone to take this away from me. It's like, like the example I gave of my friend's child, if someone took that away from me, I'd be willing to go to prison for that. Seriously, you do not take that away from my child. You do not take that away from my child. I understand people are entitled to their religious views and whatnot. Do not take that away from my child at a young age.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like if they find out through their own devices, through like a movie, mass media.
Right.
But if an adult especially, spoils it for them, I'd be livid. Absolutely livid.
And like when it ties back into the fact that it was a religious school, yes. I mean, I myself am Christian, born and raised, but it's like, believing in, what actually happened biblically on Christmas and everything is completely disconnected from just like the Father Christmas folklore. So I'm like, why would you have the need to tie in the two in a school to young kids? I don't get it.
Well,
I don't get it.
They also go hand in, like, I mean, you can still celebrate both of them.
Right.
You can still celebrate both of them on that one day. So you don't need to say, well, you can only celebrate one of them. That's garbage.
Exactly.
I mean, Christmas is 24. It's longer. It's like
it's
72
an entire month.
hours. You can have 3 days. You've got Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day.
Personally, yes. I believe I am great at spotting when people lie to me. And I attribute that because of people that I grew up with and then also having studied acting.
Sorry, is that, are you insinuating that the people you grew up with were liars?
Oh, not everybody, but I did grow up with several people around me that were like, everyone in the class knew they were a liar. Like, they would say the most ridiculous things, and we all just kind of were like, what is it this time? Like, I grew up with some kids like that in my classes. And so spotting that kind of lying is pretty easy. But also when you go into, because I went to college for acting, and you learn about certain
tells?
That kind of thing. Yeah. Basically like what people do when they lie to put that into your character. You pick up on that on people in real life. So it's like, But do you think you're good at detecting lies from other people?
I generally think I can read people's body language pretty well. So if someone's telling me a lie, I can generally pick up on it. If people are giving me vibes that are weird, I just kind of pick up on that anyway. And just kind of like, I don't want a piece of this.
No.
I'm just like, nah.
No.
If people start lying, it's like, no, just kind of remove myself from the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not worth the effort.
No, it's not. It is not.
Yeah. But when they're my children, there's not much I can do. I can't just like leave them in the middle of the street.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bye.
It's like, I'm stuck with you now. We're going to work through this.
For at least 18 years.
Yeah.
For at least 18
if not longer.
All right, fantastic. So now that we've covered some interesting stuff on the topic today, it's time to hop into some questions from our dear listeners. The first one comes from, if I can read, Stay Happy Myself on Twitter. And they ask, what is your alarm ringtone?
Oh.
Do you have an alarm clock or do you use your phone?
I use my phone. My current one, hang on. Let me pull my phone out of my pants. It's actually a custom alarm.
Oh.
So I will have to actually play it for you.
Okay. We are guided way.
There's actually, it's an alarm of my son.
Oh.
Hang on. Now, how do I play this thing? Here we go. Let's see. Edit into here. Here we go.
That's so cute.
William? That's William. That was it was like from one of the episodes of from The Return of Superman.
That's so cute.
Before that, it was like the Imperial March from Star Wars. So it's kind of, I've upgraded it's a much happier way to wake up in the morning. I used to wake up like so angry in the morning. I don't know why. Now I just wake up and I'm like, great start to the day. Let's keep going.
Oh my God. Oh, that's so sweet though. That's adorable.
My wife and I actually, we have, and this is our ringtone as well. So we both have the same ringtone. And we both have the same alarm.
It's cute. Oh, I feel stupid. Mine's just a song from a musical. Whoops.
What musical?
The Beetlejuice musical.
What's the song?
The title of it's The Whole Being Dead Thing. Sounds kind of more, but it's not. It's a very fun opening number in the show. But
I didn't even know Beetlejuice had a musical.
Unfortunately, already closed on Broadway because of the whole pandemic, but it's actually very nice. I like it, AleXa. I love the original movie. But
the movie was amazing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, classic.
So I'm taking it the musical only came out recently then?
I believe it started on Broadway 2018 and it wound up closing 2019. But it's coming to Korea in July, I believe, actually.
Oh, really?
So I'm excited for that.
Is that with a local cast or a international cast?
I don't know. There's no details on it yet, but I'm curious about that.
Really?
But, yeah. So
leave it with me. I'll talk to a few people and find out.
Okay, all right. Well, there's that. So the ringtone question has been answered. We have a really cute one and a musical theater dork. Anyways, next question. This comes from, if I can read, Omorphix on the Twitter. And they ask, would you rather lose all of the money you've earned this year or lose all of the memories you've gained this year? I mean, we're only 3 months in, but still.
Lose all the money you've earned this year. Hang on. Let me do some quick calculations. I'll lose them. I haven't really had any. My kids have been busy this year, so that's gone into their bank accounts, not into mine. So I'll be good losing my money.
All right.
Keep the memories. I don't have any great memories so far this year either. Can I just lose both of them? And can I just start with something, take something else?
You get 3 wishes from a genie if you lose both your money and memories.
I'll take that. I'll take the wishes.
Well, there we go. Oh, goodness. And without further ado, unfortunately, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Make sure you send your questions with #HDIGH and let us know what should be our next big topic.
This seems so much shorter than Nonsensible.
Really?
Short show, it's a half-hour show.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're very short here.
Wow.
Very
It feels like this is just like the opening of Nonsensible.
Well,
We've only just sat down and hi, we're listening to Nonsensible with Sam, Dave, and Saul. We've just started the show.
I mean, let's do 4 more.
Wow. This is crazy. I love it.
But yeah, it's right. To the point.
Short and sweet, straight to the point.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. But yes, make sure you send us your questions to #HDIGH. Check us out Instagram and Twitter at The Dive Studios. Also, youtube.com/Dive Studios or /Dive Pause for full-length episodes. Don't forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Once again, a tremendous thank you to Sam Hammington for coming out.
I only got to have 2 sips of my coffee.
Please take some more sips.
Oh my gosh.
Please take some
This is
sips.
incredible. Wow. That was short and sweet. Wow. Well, that was so much fun. I barely took a breath. Nonsensible. Find us on Dive Studios.
Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram, Sam Hammington. Yeah, there are other things in the works that I can't talk about. Find me when they happen.
Yeah. All right. See you guys on the flip side. Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, did you enjoy that episode?
If you did, you can always listen to the full episodes on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
And also, do not forget to subscribe and follow this channel. Also, turn on notifications.